Adding charts to a dashboard. When adding charts to a dashboard, the first thing we want to do is to make sure that the data that we want to display in the chart is in the underlying Excel file. In this case, we have the data displayed here in front of us. We're looking at January through June data, and we're looking at revenue and number of orders. So now we want to add a chart component to our dashboard. For this example, we're going to use the combination chart because it allows us to look at a couple of different measurements at the same time. And let me just expand on this a little bit to give us more real estate while doing the example. And since we have the combination chart component highlighted, we can see its properties here on the right side. And at the first part of the properties under the general section, we see the chart titles. Now, when I'm creating a chart component, I like to source all the chart titles and data from the Excel file. What this allows me to do is, if I need to update the chart titles or subtitles later, instead of having to go to each component in my dashboard and update them separately, I can just update those values on the Excel file in one location. And it saves time and it makes it easier when you're trying to maintain and update your dashboard. So instead of typing the chart title here, what I'm going to do is come over here and select a chart title. And in this example, B1 is my chart title. My subtitle here, I am going to choose B2. So we're looking at monthly revenue data for the Atlanta region in this particular example. For the category x-axis and category y-axis values, these are this is basically showing what kind of data you're looking at. And in this example, we're just going to leave those blank. Now, there are two ways of bringing your data into your chart. If we look at the data section here, there's by range and by series. Now, if all of your data is in one location in your Excel file, you can click on the by range, just select the cell table area where all the data is located, click OK, and that will bring it into your report as such. But let's go over this by series to show you how you would do it manually instead of doing it all together. What I'm going to do is just delete the data out of here, click OK, and I'm going to choose by series in our properties. First thing we do when we're using by series is click the plus sign. This will add a new series to our chart. So now we see series 1. Well, I don't want to keep the name series 1. What I'm going to do is choose a name on the chart. And for this particular series, I'm going to choose revenue as my series title. Next thing it asks for are the values inside this particular dashboard, or in this particular series. So for the values, I'm going to choose C4 through C9, which is all my revenue data. It asks where you want to plot your series. I'm going to plot this on the primary axis. And at the bottom, it's asking what are my category labels. And for this example, my category labels are January through June. I'm going to choose cells B4 through B9. Click OK. Now I'm going to add a second series. So I'm going to click the plus sign like we did before, and we see Series 2. For my Series 2 name, I'm going to choose number of orders. For my Series 2 values, I'm going to choose cells D4 through D9 here. Click OK. Now in this one, since number of orders and revenue are way different values and completely different measurements, instead of plotting it on the primary axis along with the revenue, I'm going to plot it on the secondary axis. Notice how it moved the values to the other side of the chart, and you can see the differentiations between the number of orders a lot better than you could if it was on the same axis as the revenue. Notice now that my category label axis is still filled in. You only have to fill that out for your chart as a whole. You don't have to fill it out for every single series. Now we fill this in, let's look at some of the other options that we have available to us when creating a chart. So let's click over to the Behavior tab on our properties. The first thing we see is ignoring blank cells. So this is nice if you choose a larger plot area than you actually have values for. Let's say later on I'm going to add July through December data, but it's not on my chart right now, but I selected 12 different rows to have space for those in the future. Well, instead of seeing 12 plot lines on my chart here, what I can do is ignore the blank cells in the series and in values. And that way, whatever's at the end of my chart, if there's blank cells at the end, it's just going to ignore those. And once they're filled in with data, it will actually populate those on the chart. Notice we have some other tabs here. We have a primary scale tab. And what this allows us to do is, right now we have an auto axis scale. So what that means is that based on the data that it's looking at, it will determine what the scale of this chart is. And in this case, it's going from 1 million to 3.5 million. Now, if we wanted to manually set the scale, we could. For this example, we will leave it on the auto axis. If we look right below it, we can see we have an option for fixed label size. And if we click this, what it does is, instead of seeing all those extra zeros in our millions of dollars in revenue, it just puts the label M for million. And alternately, for thousands, it's going to insert K. This saves us a lot of real estate on our charts and gives us more room to actually look at the different values in the chart. And similarly, let's go over to the secondary scale, and I'm going to also choose fixed label size. And now those thousands on the secondary axis have K's in their place. Let's click over to the Appearance tab. The Appearance tab lets us change the entire look and feel of the report. We can change the colors, we can change the layouts, we can choose whether or not to show a background. In this case, I think a background helps the look and feel of the chart. If we look down the properties a little ways, we see Enable Legend, and we see the position of the legend right now is on the right side. But we can actually show it on the left side, on the top, or even at the bottom. So I'm going to choose to show the legend at the bottom. The next tab we have here in our Appearance section is the Series tab. And in this case, for each of our series, we can choose whether we want these to be a column or a line. And right now, I kind of like the way it looks with having the revenue as a column chart and the number of orders as line. It definitely shows a difference between the two scales of viewing your data. Here as well, we could increase or decrease the size of the column and the markers to whatever you prefer when you're creating your report. And we can also change the colors of our different series as well. We also can change font sizes and colors of our text, and we can also change overall colors in our report, in our chart. And this is how we create charts in our